Black screen, the sound of a heartbeat, slow, controlled, then breathing, deep and measured like a metronome counting down to violence. The crack of a rifle shot splits the silence. A good sniper takes three things to the field: patience, precision, and the willingness to pull the trigger when the math says kill. Extreme close-up of an eye behind a scope, pupil dilated, unblinking, crosshairs centered on a figure 800 meters distant. The world reduced to mathematics, wind speed, bullet drop, the space between intention and execution. I learned the math at Bragg, perfected it in Mosul, broke it in Kandahar when the target wore the same flag I did. The woman behind the scope is Sarah Kane, 32 years old, former Delta Force sniper, current DIA investigator, and right now loading a Mark 22 rifle in a dark room that smells like gun oil and old regret. This target is different. This one has been hunting on American soil for 8 years, and nobody has pulled the trigger yet. She racks the bolt. The sound echoes in the empty space. Clean, final, the way all decisions should be. The briefing room at Defense Intelligence Agency headquarters sits 3 floors below ground. No windows. Fluorescent lights that make everyone look sick. Sarah Kane sits across from Director Vincent Shaw, a man whose face has the weathered quality of someone who has spent 30 years reading reports that keep him awake at night. He slides a thick folder across the table. The cover is marked with red diagonal stripes. Classified. Eyes only. Hayes Brennan. Navy SEAL. 2 silver stars. 1 problem. Sarah opens the folder. The first page is a photograph. A man in his late 40s. Square jaw. Confident eyes. The kind of face that appears on recruiting posters. How many? 41 documented. Shaw's voice is flat, probably double that. Sarah flips through the pages. Names, dates, locations scattered across 3 continents. A pattern emerging like a constellation you only see when you know where to look. Why me? Because you understand the mission parameter. Shaw pauses. The kind of pause that carries weight. No trial, no headlines, no second chance. Sarah looks up from the folder. I'm asking you to solve a problem the system won't touch. Shaw leans back in his chair. It creaks. Brennan has a protection network we've never seen. Congressional friends, 4-star patrons, even a few at Langley. The words hang in the air between them. 4-star patrons. Sarah files that away. Questions for later. She returns to the folder, flips to the victim statements, reads the first one, then the second. By the third, a cold anger begins to crystallize in her chest, the kind that doesn't burn hot, the kind that calculates, plans, executes. There's a pattern here. Every victim who goes public either dies or vanishes. Sarah traces her finger down the list. 3 deaths, 2 disappearances, 7 recantations, all within 90 days of filing reports. Shaw nods. You see it too. Sarah stops at the most recent entry. Lieutenant Emma Cross filed reports 6 weeks ago. Status listed as AWOL, presumed desertion. She didn't run. Sarah closes the folder. She was disappeared. Shaw says nothing, which is confirmation enough. How much time do I have? As long as it takes, but understand this. Shaw stands, moves to the door, stops with his hand on the handle. Brennan is a symptom. The disease runs deeper. If you pull this thread, you'll unravel something bigger than one bad seal. The question is whether you're ready for what comes next. The door closes behind him. Sarah sits alone in the fluorescent glare. 41 documented victims. Probably double that. And somewhere out there, a lieutenant who made the mistake of believing the system would protect her. Sarah opens the folder again, memorizes the face. Emma Cross, 23 years old, intelligence specialist. The photograph shows a young woman in dress blues. Eyes full of the kind of hope that gets people killed. She pulls out her phone, makes a call. When the voice answers, she gives 3 words. I need everything. Oceanside, California. A women's shelter on the edge of town where the strip malls give way to industrial lots and the sound of the ocean is a distant rumor. Sarah Kane sits in a borrowed Honda Civic watching the entrance. Waiting. Patience is the first skill a sniper learns. The ability to become part of the landscape. To let time pass like water, while the body remains still and the mind stays sharp. She has been here for 6 hours, watching shift changes, cataloging vehicles, building a pattern of life. At 1400 hours, a young woman emerges, brown hair pulled back, Oversized jacket despite the California heat. The kind of clothing meant to hide rather than comfort. Emma Cross. Sarah waits until Emma is 3 blocks away before following. Not close enough to spook, not far enough to lose. The distance a predator maintains when tracking prey. Except Sarah isn't hunting. She's protecting, though Emma doesn't know that yet. The coffee shop is called Java Junction. Generic. The kind of place designed to be forgettable. Emma sits in the back corner, facing the door, back to the wall, tactical positioning. Someone taught her that. Sarah enters, orders black coffee, sits 2 tables away, close enough to be noticed, far enough to not threaten. 10 minutes pass. Emma's eyes keep flicking to Sarah, recognition fighting with denial. Finally, she speaks. "You're not from the shelter." Sarah turns, meets her gaze. "No, I'm not." Emma's hand moves to her bag, not reaching for a weapon, reaching for keys, escape routes already mapped in her mind. "I'm not here to hurt you." Sarah keeps her voice level. "Low, I'm here because you filed the 41st report. That makes you a data point. And data points help me find the center of mass." Center of what? The network protecting him. Sarah slides a photograph across the table. A man in navy khakis exiting a JAG office. Master Chief Wade Torres, Brennan's swim buddy for 15 years. Recognize him? Emma's face goes pale, hand trembling now. "He came to my apartment, said if I testified, my brother would have an accident. My brother is deployed in Syria." "Did you believe him?" Emma's laugh is bitter, broken. "My brother's medevac got diverted into hostile airspace 3 days later. Engine failure. He survived. Barely. So yes, I believed him." The words settle between them like ash. Sarah processes the implications. This isn't just cover-up. This is active warfare against victims and their families. Reach extending across continents, into war zones, the kind of capability that requires resources, authority, protection from the very top. "How many others?" Emma asks. Her voice is small now. "Defeated. 41 documented." Sarah pauses. "Probably more." "And they all?" "Most." Sarah doesn't sugarcoat it. "The ones who pushed forward either died, vanished, or broke. You're still alive because you went underground before they could finish the job." Emma stares at her coffee, cold now, untouched. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." Sarah stands to leave. "I wanted you to know you're not crazy, you're not alone, and someone is finally keeping score." She walks to the door, stops. "One more thing. That Master Chief who threatened you, he's a data point too, and I'm very good with math. Naval Special Warfare Command, Coronado, the place where SEALs are forged and legends are born." Sarah Kane arrives with DIA credentials identifying her as a training assessment liaison, a bureaucrat with a clipboard, the kind of person operators ignore. Perfect cover. She spends 3 days mapping the terrain, learning rhythms, identifying patterns, the team rooms where the operators gather, the armory where they store their tools, the admin building where secrets hide in filing cabinets behind locked doors. On the 4th day, she plants her first camera, magnetic mount disguised as a smoke detector bracket, positioned to capture the entrance to Colonel Garrett Steele's office, the man the Navy calls Brennan in official records. A name that carries weight in these halls. The camera is live by 0600. Sarah watches the feed from a rented apartment 3 miles off base, sees Steele arrive at 0630, watches him greet junior SEALs with backslaps and jokes, sees the way they orbit him like planets around a star. Predators don't look like monsters, they look like heroes. Day 7. Sarah uses a cloned RFID card to access the team spaces after hours. The building is never truly empty. There are always night shift personnel, but she moves through blind spots, stays in shadows, a ghost mapping the architecture of power. She finds what she's looking for in a wall locker behind the weight room. A laptop, old model, the kind people keep for nostalgic reasons, or for things they don't want on network devices. She copies the hard drive, takes 47 minutes, every second feeling like an hour, waiting for footsteps, voices, discovery. None come. Back at her apartment, she breaks the encryption. Military grade, but not impossible. Just time-consuming. The files that emerge paint a picture of careful documentation. Dates, names, details too specific to be fiction, too consistent to be lies. Garrett Steele kept records, like a hunter cataloging trophy kills. Sarah's hands are steady as she reads. But something cold settles in her chest. This isn't just sexual assault. This is systematic hunting, planned, executed, refined over years into something almost algorithmic. Her phone vibrates. Encrypted message from DIA analyst she trusts. 3 words that change everything. Check Greystone Solutions. Sarah runs the search. Greystone Solutions, LLC, private military contractor. Exclusive DoD contracts. CEO listed as retired General Marcus Hale, 4-star former JSOC commander. One of those 4-star patrons Shaw mentioned. The pieces are starting to connect, but the picture they form doesn't make sense yet. Why would a PMC care about one SEAL's crimes? Unless those crimes serve a larger purpose. Unless they're not crimes at all. Unless they're recruitment tools. Leverage, the kind of compromising material intelligence agencies use to turn assets. Sarah sits back, stares at the ceiling, thinks about sharks and pilot fish, about who really runs the ocean. Oh, 5:30, the base gym. Sarah arrives in PT gear, starts her routine on the heavy bag, alone in the pre-dawn quiet, except she's not alone. Master Chief Wade Torres is there, 51 years old, built like a man who has spent 3 decades refusing to accept age. He doesn't acknowledge her, just begins his own workout. Controlled violence against leather and chain. They work in silence for 10 minutes. The rhythm of fists and breathing and the creak of ceiling mounts. Then he speaks without looking at her. You're the DIA assessor. Sarah doesn't stop her combinations. And you're Steele's swim buddy from Team 6. 15 years. Mosul. Kandahar. Somalia. Torres's voice is flat. Factual. Must be hard. Sarah pivots, throws a knee into the bag. Watching someone you trust become something else. Torres stops. First time he looks directly at her. What makes you think he became anything? 41 women and 3 men say otherwise. The air in the gym changes, tightens. Torres steps away from his bag, moves to the bench press, loads plates with deliberate precision. You believe every report you read? I believe patterns. Sarah wipes sweat from her face. And dead witnesses. Torres lies back on the bench, grips the bar, presses 315 like it's nothing. His breathing is controlled, mathematical. You're swimming in deep water. Currents here pull you under before you know you're drowning. He racks the weight, sits up, meets her eyes. And for a moment, Sarah sees something there. Not quite alliance, not quite warning, something in between. He walks past her to the exit, stops at the door, the kind of pause that carries meaning. Be careful who you trust in this place. Some of us wear the uniform, others just rent it. Then he's gone. And Sarah is left wondering whether she just met an ally or an enemy, or something more dangerous. Someone caught in between. Friday night, the Trident Room. A bar 3 blocks off base where SEALs and contractors gather to drink and lie about operations they'll never discuss sober. Sarah Kane sits alone at the corner of the bar, bourbon in front of her, DIA credentials visible on her jacket. Bait. She doesn't have to wait long. 3 junior SEALs in their late 20s, all confidence and testosterone. They approach with the swagger of men who have never been told no. Mind if we join you? Sarah gestures to the empty stools. Free country. They order beers, make small talk, try to impress her with vague references to classified operations. Sarah plays along, buys them around, lets them relax. Then, casual as a knife between ribs, she drops it. So which one of you was at Emma Cross's apartment last month? The temperature drops 10 degrees, the 3 exchange glances. Across the room, Colonel Garrett Steele watches from a high-top table. Surrounded by his inner circle, all eyes now on this corner of the bar. Sarah sips her bourbon, waiting. Maybe she lied. SEAL number 1 tries to recover. First mistake, never confirm you know the name. Or maybe someone made her disappear before she could elaborate. Sarah sets down her glass. The sound is soft but final. Steele is moving now, through the crowd, parting it like a prophet through believers. He arrives at her table, all charm and practiced ease. Gentlemen, I'll take it from here. They disperse. Steele sits, studies her with eyes that have seen too much and learned too little. You're the DIA assessor. Kane, right? Sarah. And yes, Taiwan, 5th-generation American. But thanks for the racism. Steele laughs, genuine, or a good performance of it. Touchy, I like that, shows you care. I care about patterns. Sarah holds his gaze. You're a statistical anomaly, Colonel. 41 accusers over 8 years. By comparison, the next highest figure in JSOC is 7 over 20 years. Steele leans back, confident. You know what's actually anomalous? A former Delta sniper who shot her own teammate in Kandahar getting hired by DIA. How did you swing that? The words are meant to wound, to establish dominance. Sarah feels the eyes of the room on her. 50-plus operators, all loyal to this man, all ready to become a problem if she gives them reason. I shot a rapist. Court-martial agreed. She keeps her voice level. How did your court-martial go? Oh, wait, you've never had one. Steele's smile fades. Just slightly, enough to confirm she's struck nerve. Careful. You're in a room full of my brothers, and we protect our own. From what I hear, you protect each other from consequences. Sarah doesn't blink. There's a difference. Steele stands 6'2", 220D, looms over her in a way that's meant to intimidate. You've got balls coming in here, I'll give you that. But balls without backup is just suicide. Sarah stays seated, sips her bourbon like they're discussing weather. Who says I don't have backup? Steele leans down, close enough she can smell his cologne. Expensive. Your DIA boss? He's 3,000 miles away. Your gun? Locked in your quarters per base regs. Your friends? You don't have any here. Sarah leans in, matches his proximity, whispers so only he can hear. I don't need friends. I just need a pattern, and you just confirmed it. Steele pulls back, confused for the first time. Confirmed what? That you assume every woman in your presence is either a victim or a future one. Sarah stands now. Eye to eye. Thanks for the confession. She tosses a 20 on the bar. Gentlemen, enjoy your evening. Colonel, enjoy your last month of freedom. The walk to the door is the longest of her life. Every step, expecting hands on her shoulders. Violence, consequences. But SEALs are trained warriors. And warriors don't start fights they can't finish in public. She makes it outside. The cool California night air hits her face like baptism. 2,300 hours. Sarah walks across the parking lot to her BOQ quarters. Bachelor officer housing. Concrete block buildings arranged in neat rows. Street lights casting long shadows. Her instincts trigger before her conscious mind registers the threat. Something in the pattern of shadows. The absence of ambient noise. The way the air feels when predators are present. She's being tracked. Sarah pulls out her phone, pretends to check messages, uses the screen's reflection to scan behind her. 2 figures, 40 meters back, moving with the deliberate casualness of professionals trying not to look professional. She enters the BOQ building, doesn't go to her room on the 3rd floor, goes to the stairwell, climbs to the 2nd floor landing, positions herself in the shadow where the wall angles back, invisible from below. The door opens. 2 men enter, not military, civilian contractors, suppressors on their HK-45 pistols, moving with the mechanical efficiency of men who have done this before. Sarah waits, breathing shallow, heart rate controlled. The first man passes her position. She moves. Rear naked choke applied from behind. Textbook, cutting off blood flow to the brain. The man struggles for 8 seconds. Sarah counts silently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He goes limp. She lowers him quietly, takes his pistol. The second contractor hears the sound of fabric on concrete, turns, finds Sarah already inside his guard. Krav Maga disarm, wrist control, redirection of force. His gun clatters to the floor. Her palms strike to his temple, puts him down hard. Both unconscious, Sarah zip-ties their wrists with flex cuffs from her pocket, searches them. No military ID, no government credentials. Private contractor, badges for Greystone Solutions, LLC. The same company whose CEO is a 4-star general. Sarah's phone rings, unknown number. She answers. Ms. Kane. The voice is gravel, male, older, confident. You're asking questions about Colonel Steele. That's unwise. Who is this? Someone who has watched your career with interest. Kandahar. The friendly fire incident. You made a choice that day. Mission over loyalty. Rare quality. Sarah looks down at the 2 unconscious men. I don't work for people who send killers. Those weren't my killers. They were a test. The voice pauses. You passed. Now I'm offering you a choice. Continue investigating Steele and discover he's a symptom, not the disease. Or walk away with an honorable discharge and a consulting contract worth 7 figures. What if I do neither? Then you'll join the 42 people who have disappeared asking the same questions you're asking. The line goes dead. Sarah stares at the phone. Two unconscious contractors at her feet. A SEAL colonel who thinks he's untouchable. And somewhere in the shadows, a four-star general running operations that smell like treason dressed in patriotic clothing. She thinks about Emma Cross, hiding in a shelter. About 41 documented victims. About the pattern of dead witnesses and broken families. She thinks about the mathematics of justice, the trajectory, the wind, the distance between intention and execution. Then she makes a call. When Shaw answers, she gives him 5 words. I'm going to need more ammunition. Because Sarah Kane is a sniper, and snipers don't run from hard targets. They find the perfect position, calculate the variables, and pull the trigger when the math says kill. The hunt has just begun. The thing about being a predator is that you stop believing anyone can hurt you. You get comfortable, careless. You forget that somewhere out there, another hunter is watching, learning your patterns, waiting for the perfect moment to prove you're not apex after all. Sarah Kane has never forgotten that lesson. 72 hours after the phone call. 72 hours of silence from Greystone, from Steele, from the mysterious voice that offered her 7 figures to walk away. The kind of silence that makes amateurs relax. But Sarah isn't an amateur. She's in a rental car 3 blocks from Naval Special Warfare Command, watching. The morning shift change happens like clockwork. 0600. SEALs arriving in pickup trucks and motorcycles. Young men who believe their training makes them immortal. Her phone buzzes. Encrypted text from Shaw. 3 words that confirm what she already suspects. They're moving tonight. Sarah drives to a storage unit in Chula Vista, the kind of place people rent to hide things they can't explain. She opens Unit 217. Inside are 3 Pelican cases, equipment she requisitioned through back channels, gear that doesn't appear on any official manifest. She opens the first case, thermal imaging scope, portable directional microphone, night vision optics, the tools of surveillance warfare. Second case, body armor, plate carrier rated for rifle rounds, spare magazines for her Glock 19, flex cuffs, medical supplies, the tools of close quarters survival. Third case, a plastic mannequin, lightweight, articulated, the kind used for CPR training, and a holographic projector, military grade, the kind JSOC uses for training exercises, the kind that costs $200,000 and doesn't officially exist. Sarah smiles. Sometimes the best way to spring a trap is to make the enemy think they've already caught you. Pier 7, San Diego Harbor, 2300 hours. The water is black and still. Streetlights create pools of yellow on wet concrete. A container ship sits at anchor 200 meters out. Riding lights blinking in the darkness like distant stars. Sarah Kane is not here, but Colonel Garrett Steele thinks she is. He arrives at 2315 with 6 men, not SEALs, Greystone contractors, armed with suppressed weapons and night vision. They spread out in a tactical formation, covering angles, establishing fields of fire. Professional, experienced. Steele moves to the center of the pier, where Sarah said she would meet him, where the bait sits in plain sight. She's standing there, alone, hands visible, no weapon, just a woman who made a very stupid decision to meet a dangerous man in a very dangerous place. Steele approaches, confident. Why wouldn't he be? He has 6 guns backing him. She has nothing but foolish courage. Ms. Kane, his voice carries across the concrete. I admire your persistence, but this ends now. The figure doesn't respond, just stands there, waiting. Steele gets closer. 10 meters. 5. Close enough to see details in the dim light. Something is wrong. The posture is too rigid, the breathing too still. He reaches out, touches her shoulder. The figure tips forward, crashes to the ground. A mannequin, with a holographic projector strapped to its back, playing a looped recording. Steele's eyes widen. He spins, looking for her, for the ambush he knows is coming. Instead, he hears his own voice, amplified, playing from speakers hidden in the pier structure. Kill the drone, find the bitch. General Hale wants her alive for questioning. His own words, from 3 days ago, when he thought he was having a private conversation with his team at the Trident Room. Recorded, broadcast, turned into evidence. Steele's face goes white, not with fear, with rage. He pulls out his phone, keys in a number, When it connects, his voice is ice. She played us. The recording just went live on every device within 200 meters, including the phones of 17 SEALs who were drinking at a bar 1 block away, including the duty officer at the base, including a journalist Sarah anonymously tipped off about a possible story at Pier 7 tonight. From her position in a shipping container 200 meters away, Sarah watches through her thermal scope, sees Steele and his team scramble, sees them realize the trap wasn't about violence, it was about exposure. She keys her own phone, sends a text to Steele's number. General Hale, that's a name worth remembering. Then she's moving, out the back of the container, down the service ladder, into a kayak she pre-positioned in the water, paddling silently into darkness while Steele's world begins to collapse behind her. Because the best weapon isn't always a gun. Sometimes it's information and the will to use it. Defense Intelligence Agency Headquarters, Washington, D.C., Director Vincent Shaw sits behind his desk, the kind of desk that has seen 30 years of classified briefings and moral compromises. Sarah Kane sits across from him, between them a formal letter on official letterhead, notice of suspension, pending investigation into unauthorized operations. Shaw's face is unreadable. You went too far. Sarah says nothing, just waits. The Pier 7 incident, unauthorized surveillance, interception of private communications. He taps the letter. I have 3 congressmen and a senator asking why a DIA agent is harassing a decorated SEAL. Steele's friends. Sarah keeps her voice flat. Shaw leans back. His chair creaks. The same sound it made a week ago when he gave her this assignment. You have 48 hours to turn in your credentials and report to the Inspector General for formal questioning. Sarah stands, takes the letter. Is that an order? Shaw looks at her, really looks at her, and for just a moment something passes between them. An understanding, the kind that doesn't need words. Yes, that's an order. He pauses. I'll expect you in D.C. in 48 hours, not a minute sooner. Sarah nods, walks to the door, stops with her hand on the handle. Director? Yes? Thank you for the 48 hours. Shaw turns to his computer. Already typing. I don't know what you're talking about. As far as I'm concerned, you're on suspension. What you do with your free time is not my concern. The door closes. Sarah is in the hallway. Suspended. No official oversight, no one tracking her movements. Exactly as she planned. Because sometimes you have to break the rules to prove the system is broken. Los Angeles. UCLA campus. Jacob Steele is 25 years old. Marine captain. Just back from deployment in East Africa. Sitting in his apartment off campus. Trying to reconcile who his father is with who he thought his father was. The email arrived 3 days ago. Anonymous sender. Subject line, your father is not who you think. Attached video, shaky footage from a handheld camera. Night vision green, a woman being dragged into a room, a man's voice, confident, commanding. The voice Jacob has heard his entire life. His father's voice. The woman is crying, begging, speaking broken English, Iraqi accent. The man is telling her to be quiet, that this is what she wanted, that she asked for this. She didn't ask for this. The video is 2 minutes long. Jacob watched it once. Couldn't watch it again. Spent the next 2 days trying to convince himself it was fake, edited, a deep fake meant to destroy a good man. But the details are too specific. The room matches photos he's seen from his father's deployment. The voice is exact, the mannerisms, the way his father stands, moves, all of it real. Jacob does what any Marine officer would do. He investigates. His father keeps a storage unit in Oceanside. Has for years. Jacob has a key. Has had it since he was 16. For emergencies, his father said. Jacob decides this qualifies. The unit is full of deployment gear, old uniforms, boxes of paperwork, and in the back corner, a laptop. Older model, the kind from 2015. Still powered on, battery long dead but hard drive intact. Jacob takes it home, boots it up, finds it password protected, military encryption. The kind that takes serious hardware to crack. Jacob isn't a hacker, but he knows people who are. Guys from his platoon, tech-savvy Marines who can break into anything given enough time and motivation. It takes them 18 hours. When the files open, Jacob wishes they hadn't. Hunting logs. That's what his father called them. Dates, names, locations, details written in clinical language, like field reports, like after action reviews. Except the actions being reviewed are crimes. 15 years of documentation, 41 entries, Each one a woman or man his father destroyed. Each one cataloged, preserved, kept as trophies. Jacob sits in his apartment, staring at the screen, feeling something fundamental crack inside him. The foundation of who he thought he was, who his family was, what his name meant. He thinks about honor, about the Marine Corps values drilled into him at Quantico. Honor, courage, commitment, and what it means when the man who taught you those words never believed them himself. Jacob opens a new email, types an address he found in news articles about DYA investigations, about a woman asking questions about his father. Sarah Kane's email, public record if you know where to look. He types 5 sentences, attaches the files, hits send before he can change his mind. Then he sits in the darkness, wondering if he just betrayed his father or honored everything the uniform is supposed to represent. Santa Monica Pier, 0300. The carnival rides are dark and still. The boardwalk empty except for security and the homeless. Sarah Kane stands near the carousel, waiting. Jacob Steele arrives on foot, wearing civilian clothes, ball cap pulled low, hands in pockets, moving with the controlled alertness of someone trained to expect ambush. He sees her, stops 20 meters out, studies the terrain, the angles, the shadows where threats could hide. Sarah doesn't move, just waits for him to decide. Jacob approaches, stops 3 meters away, close enough to talk, far enough to react if this is a trap. You're Sarah Kane, and you're Jacob Steele. They stand in silence. 2 people connected by a man they both know in different ways. A father, a target. The space between those identities filled with all the complicated truth neither of them wants to acknowledge. Why did you send it to me? Sarah asks. Because someone needs to stop him. Jacob's voice is tight, controlled, and I can't be the one. Why not? Because he's my father. Regardless of what he's done, that bond exists. I can't be the one to destroy him. Jacob looks away, toward the ocean, but I can give someone else the ammunition. Sarah processes this. The moral complexity, the code that says family is everything, even when everything includes monsters. The files you sent, they're enough to convict him 10 times over. I know, but you understand what happens next. Once this goes public, your name gets dragged through it. Son of a predator, that label follows you. Jacob nods. I've thought about that. Decided I'd rather live with that label than live knowing I did nothing. Sarah respects that. Honor over comfort, the kind of choice that defines character. There's more you should know. She pulls out a folder, tosses it to him. Your father's defense attorney, Colonel Marcus Slate, former JAG officer, now works for Greystone Solutions. Jacob opens the folder, reads. His face goes hard. Slate is the one who assaulted you 2 years ago. Sarah nods. Fort Bragg, after I shot a rapist to stop an assault. Slate was evaluating me for a classified program. Said he needed to test my loyalty. His version of testing involved cornering me in a locked room and seeing if I'd fight back. Did you? I broke his nose and 3 ribs. Court-martial cleared me, but my Delta career was over. Can't have female operators who defend themselves. Might give other women ideas. Jacob closes the folder. So this is personal for you too. Everything is personal. Sarah looks at him. Question is whether personal makes us blind or focused. Movement. To their left. Sarah's hand goes to her concealed weapon. Jacob shifts, body language changing, combat ready. 3 vehicles, black SUVs, moving fast, too fast for casual traffic. They screech to a stop, doors open, men emerge, 12 of them, Greystone contractors, body armor, rifles. Sarah grabs Jacob. Move, now. They run, not toward the street, toward the pier, the boardwalk. The maze of carnival structures and tight spaces where numbers mean less and training means more. Gunfire, suppressed but still loud in the night. Rounds impact wood and metal. Sarah returns fire. 2 shots, center mass. 1 contractor goes down. The others find cover. Jacob has his own weapon, a SIG P3-2. Oh, Marine issue. He fires controlled pairs, covering their movement. They reach the carousel, dive behind it, rounds punching through fiberglass horses. How many? Jacob asks. Too many for a fair fight. Sarah reloads, which means we don't fight fair. She pulls something from her jacket, a small device, remote detonator, presses the button. 300 meters away in the parking lot, Sarah's rental car explodes. Not a huge blast, just enough to trigger every alarm. every security response, every police unit within 2 miles. The contractors hesitate. Mission parameters just changed. Extraction window collapsing. Sarah and Jacob use the confusion. Move deeper into the pier. Into the funhouse. The mirror maze. Spaces designed to disorient. Perfect for close quarters warfare. They split up. Sarah goes high, Jacob goes low. The contractors follow. 6 pursuing Sarah, 6 pursuing Jacob. Exactly as she planned. Sarah moves through the funhouse, using mirrors to track movement, sees a contractor reflected, waits for him to pass, steps out behind him, suppressed shot to the back of the knee. He goes down. She's already moving. Ghost in the maze. Another contractor coming around a corner. Sarah uses a mirror to misdirect. He shoots his own reflection. She shoots him. Shoulder wound, non-lethal. He drops his weapon. She kicks it away. Sirens now. Getting closer. Police response time in Santa Monica is under 4 minutes. They're at minute 3. Sarah finds Jacob. He's taken down 2 contractors. Both alive. Both zip-tied. Combat efficiency. Marine training. We need to go. Sarah leads him to a maintenance exit. They emerge on the beach, run along the waterline, disappear into darkness while police lights paint the pier in red and blue. Behind them, 12 Greystone contractors try to explain why they're armed on a public pier at 3 in the morning. Try to explain it in a way that doesn't sound like attempted murder. They won't succeed. Safe House, East Los Angeles. A place Shaw set up years ago for operations that need to stay off the books. Sarah and Jacob arrive at 0430, sweep the location, secure the perimeter. Then finally they talk. Jacob sits at a table, hands wrapped around coffee that's gone cold. He hasn't said much since the pier. Processing. Sarah understands. Violence has a way of clarifying things, or shattering them completely. Your father will know it was you. Sarah doesn't sugarcoat it. The files, the timing, he'll put it together. I know. Jacob stares at his coffee. What will he do? Honestly? Try to kill you, or have someone else do it. Can't have loose ends. Jacob nods, like it's an acceptable answer. Maybe it is. Maybe when you're raised by a predator, you learn to expect teeth. There's something else you need to know. Sarah pulls out another file, the one she's been carrying since Shaw gave her this assignment. Your father isn't the mastermind. He's a tool, being used by someone with a lot more power. Who? General Marcus Hale, 4-star, retired JSOC commander, runs Greystone Solutions. Sarah opens the file, shows Jacob photos, organizational charts, financial records. Your father's crimes aren't just about him. They're leverage. Hale recruits compromised operators, uses their secrets to control them, builds a private army of people who can't say no. Jacob studies the documents. You're saying my father was recruited? That he's a victim? No. Sarah's voice is hard. Your father is a predator. Always has been. But Hale recognized that, used it, turned a serial rapist into an asset. The crimes continued because they served a purpose. What purpose? Blackmail, control, insurance. When you have dirt on 41 victims and the perpetrator, you control the narrative. You control investigations. You control careers. Jacob looks up. Hale has been building this network for 20 years. Your father is one piece. There are dozens more. The scope of it hits Jacob. This isn't about one bad seal. This is systematic, institutional, the kind of corruption that requires resources and protection from the highest levels. What do? We expose it. All of it. Sarah's phone buzzes. Text from Emma Cross, the lieutenant who went underground 6 weeks ago. The message is simple. I'm ready to testify. Public court-martial. Whatever it takes. Another text from a number Sarah doesn't recognize. Then another. And another. 11 total. All victims. All ready to stand up. Sarah shows Jacob. This is how we win. Not with violence. With testimony. With truth loud enough it can't be buried. Jacob nods. What do you need from me? Everything you found. On record. Official statement. Sarah pauses. And be prepared for what comes next. This goes public, your father goes to prison. Hale probably escapes. Men like him always do. But the network gets exposed. And that's the real target. Jacob stands, extends his hand, then lets burn it down. Sarah shakes, feels the firmness of his grip. The resolve. Marines are taught that honor matters more than comfort. Jacob is about to prove he believes it. Pentagon, Office of the Inspector General. General Marcus Hale sits across from two civilian attorneys and a JAG captain. They're asking questions about Greystone Solutions, about contracts, about personnel. Hale answers with practiced ease. Nothing to hide. Just a businessman running a legitimate PMC, supporting American interests abroad. The attorneys don't push hard. Why would they? Hale is a four-star, decorated, connected, the kind of man who golfs with senators and advises presidents. His phone vibrates. Text message. From Colonel Marcus Slate, 3 words that change everything. Files are public, testifying next week. Hale's face doesn't change. Years of command have taught him to never show weakness. But inside, something cold and calculating begins to plan. He excuses himself, steps into a private office, makes a call. When it connects, he speaks clearly, precisely. The Kane woman has become a problem. If she reaches the media with the full scope, we'll have another Abu Ghraib on our hands, neutralize her permanently. The voice on the other end confirms, asks about parameters. No restrictions. Hale's voice is flat. Make it look like an accident if possible. If not, make it quick, but make it final. He hangs up, returns to his meeting, smiles, answers questions, plays the role of a loyal American who has nothing to hide. Because men like Marcus Hale don't panic. They adapt, eliminate problems, protect the network. And if that means burning a few assets to protect the core, so be it. That's what command is, making hard choices, sacrificing pawns to protect the king. Motel 6, outside of Barstow, middle of nowhere, Nevada. Sarah chose it specifically for that reason. Hard to approach, unnoticed. Easy to defend. One road in, desert on all sides. She has 12 people under her protection now. Emma Cross, 10 other victims who came forward, and Jacob Steele, all of them ready to testify at a court-martial scheduled for next week. All of them now targets. Sarah has the room set up tactically, all on the ground floor, doors facing the parking lot, windows covered, exit routes mapped, vehicle staged for emergency extraction, 0400, the witching hour, when human circadian rhythms are at their lowest, when guards get tired, when defenses slip. Sarah doesn't sleep, never has before an operation. She's in the room closest to the parking lot, night vision optics on the window, watching, waiting. Motion sensors trigger, perimeter alert on her phone. Someone just crossed the invisible line she drew at 200 meters. Sarah keys her radio, whispers, "Company, all personnel, stay down, stay quiet." She watches through night vision, 12 figures, moving in tactical formation, suppressed weapons, night vision of their own, professional, military trained. This isn't a capture mission. This is termination. Sarah has 30 seconds before they reach effective range. She uses 20 of them to wake Jacob, to position him at the back exit with the victims, to give him one instruction. If I don't come back, you run. You get them to the media. You finish this. Jacob wants to argue. Sarah doesn't give him time. She's already moving, out the door, into the parking lot, positioning herself between the kill team and the rooms. She has her rifle, suppressed, thermal scope, 15 rounds, against 12 operators with automatic weapons and numbers advantage. The math doesn't favor her. But Sarah Kane learned a long time ago that math is just theory until someone pulls the trigger. The first operator enters the parking lot. Sarah's crosshairs find center mass. She breathes out, squeezes. The suppressed shot sounds like a cough. The operator drops. Leg wound, not fatal. Sarah doesn't do murder, even when murder is coming for her. The other 11 scatter. Find cover, return fire. Rounds impact the concrete barrier where Sarah was positioned 3 seconds ago. But she's already moved. Different angle, different position. Ghost warfare, the way Delta trained her. Second shot, another operator down, shoulder wound. He's screaming. His teammates have to break formation to drag him to cover. 8 operators left combat effective. They're adapting, splitting into teams, flanking maneuvers. Professional response to superior marksmanship. Sarah keys her radio. Jacob. Windows, 3 targets moving to your 6. Jacob's voice comes back. Calm, controlled. I see them. Gunfire from the back of the motel. Jacob engaging. Former Marine marksmanship. 3 controlled shots. Movement stops. The remaining operators realize they're in a kill box. Targets with training, not soft civilians. Mission parameters are wrong. They start to withdraw. Sarah lets them go, watches them drag their wounded, pile into vehicles, disappear into the desert darkness. She doesn't pursue, doesn't finish them. Because this was never about winning a gunfight. It was about sending a message. You can't kill all of us, and the ones who survive will testify. Sirens. Someone called the police, probably a guest in another section of the motel. Sarah has maybe 5 minutes before local law enforcement arrives. She moves to the back rooms. Everyone alive, shaken, but alive. Jacob is checking his weapon, making it safe. His hands are steady, face calm. Sarah recognizes that look. Combat focus. The ability to do violence then step away from it cleanly. We need to leave. Sarah starts gathering gear. Now. Where? Emma asks. Her voice is small, frightened. Somewhere they can't reach us. Sarah pulls out her phone, makes a call. When Shaw answers, she gives him coordinates and a request that will either save them all or destroy everything. I need federal protection, 12 witnesses, court-martial in 6 days, and I need it now. Shaw is quiet, then, where are you? Sarah tells him. Stay there, marshals are 20 minutes out. Shaw pauses. Sarah, this goes public tomorrow. All of it. The files, the testimony, everything. No more shadows, no more off the books. This becomes official. Sarah looks at the 12 people in this room, people who trusted the system, got betrayed, trusted her instead. Now trusting that system one more time. Good. It's time the light killed some roaches. The line goes dead. Sarah moves to the window, watches the empty desert, waiting for headlights, waiting for salvation or damnation, knowing they're often the same thing. Behind her, Emma is crying. Jacob is comforting her. 10 other victims are huddled together, finding strength in shared trauma, in the knowledge that tomorrow their silence ends. Sarah checks her rifle, reloads, watches the darkness, and thinks about a phone call 3 weeks ago, an anonymous voice offering 7 figures to walk away. She wonders if that offer is still on the table, wonders if she'd take it now, even if it was. Decides the answer is no, was always no. Because some fights aren't about money or career or personal safety. Some fights are about proving that predators can bleed, that systems can break, that justice, however delayed, can still arrive. Headlights appear on the horizon. Federal vehicles, coming fast. Sarah keys her radio one last time. Jacob, tell them we're ready. The cavalry is here, and tomorrow the war goes public. There's a moment in every battle when you realize the outcome is already decided, not by bullets or tactics, by something deeper. The willingness to stand when standing means everything. To speak when silence would be safer. To believe that truth, however buried, eventually breaks surface. Sarah Kane stands outside the military courthouse at Marine Corps Base Quantico. 6 days after the motel. 6 days of depositions and preparation and federal protection. 6 days of watching 12 people find the courage to do what the system told them was impossible. Tell the truth, survive it, and force the world to listen. The building is old, red brick and white columns, the kind of architecture designed to remind you that justice is supposed to be permanent, enduring. Sarah wonders if the people who built it believe that, or if they knew even then that justice is just another word for the fight that never ends. Director Vincent Shaw approaches. He looks older than he did 3 weeks ago, the kind of aging that happens when you stop pretending the system works and start admitting how broken it really is. They're going to fight dirty. His voice is low. Slate is good. Best defense attorney in JAG. He'll attack credibility. Bring up your Kandahar incident. Try to make this about you instead of Steele. Sarah nods. Let him. Shaw studies her. You ready for what comes next? Sarah thinks about Emma Cross, about Jacob Steele testifying against his own father, about 41 victims who didn't live to see this day, about the ones who did and had to become warriors just to survive. I've been ready since Kandahar. This is just the first time the system is too. Shaw almost smiles. Almost. Then his face hardens. One more thing. We have a surprise witness, someone you know. He's been working with the IG for 2 years, collecting evidence, building a case from inside the network. Who? Shaw hands her a sealed envelope. Don't open it until you're inside. But trust me, this changes everything. He walks away before she can ask more questions. Sarah holds the envelope, feels its weight. wonders what secret could be heavy enough to change the course of a trial that already feels inevitable. The courtroom is military formal. Wood paneling, American flag, the seal of the Department of Defense watching over everything like a promise or a threat. The gallery is packed, media in the back, military personnel in dress uniforms, observers from congressional oversight committees. And in the front row, 12 people who came to watch a monster face consequences for the first time in his life. Colonel Garrett Steele enters, flanked by 2 JAG escorts. He's in service dress blues. Every ribbon earned, every decoration polished, looking like the recruiting poster version of an American hero, which is the point. Make the jury see the uniform before they see the man. His attorney, Colonel Marcus Slate, sits at the defense table, reviewing notes. He glances once at Sarah. His face shows nothing, but she sees it anyway. The calculation, the recognition, the knowledge that they both remember a locked room at Fort Bragg 2 years ago. The judge enters. Marine Colonel, combat veteran, face like weathered stone. Everyone stands. Be seated. The judge's voice fills the space. We're here for the court-martial of Colonel Garrett Steele, United States Navy, charged with 41 counts of sexual assault, 7 counts of obstruction of justice, 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder. The charges hang in the air. 41 counts, each one a person, a life, a wound that never fully heals. Slate stands. Defense moves to dismiss on grounds of insufficient evidence and unreliable witness testimony. These accusations span 15 years. Much of the alleged evidence is circumstantial. And the primary investigator, he gestures to Sarah, has a documented history of violence against superior officers and dubious judgment under pressure. The judge looks at Sarah, then at Slate. Motion denied. We'll hear the evidence and let the facts speak. Proceed with opening statements. The prosecution goes first. A JAG captain named Morrison, young, earnest, the kind of officer who still believes the system can work if you just follow the rules hard enough. He lays out the case, the pattern, the victims, the evidence. Clean, professional, by the book. Then Slate stands, and Sarah watches a master at work. Members of the jury. Slate's voice is measured. Reasonable. You're going to hear testimony from alleged victims, people claiming harm, and I want you to listen to them. Really listen, because their pain is real. But pain doesn't always mean a crime occurred. Sometimes it means regret, misunderstanding, the complicated nature of human relationships in high-stress environments. He walks to the jury box, makes eye contact with each member. Colonel Steele is a warrior, 27 years of service, 2 silver stars, countless lives saved, missions accomplished. He's trained hundreds of SEALs, mentored young officers, served this nation with distinction. And now, at the end of his career, he faces accusations that, if true, would mean everything we know about him is a lie. Slate pauses, lets that sink in. I ask you to consider, is it more likely that a decorated officer, with no criminal history, suddenly became a serial predator? Or is it possible that in the world of special operations, where egos clash and careers compete, someone decided to destroy a good man's reputation? Sarah watches the jury, sees some of them nodding, just slightly, doubt creeping in, exactly as Slate intended. The first witness is called, Lieutenant Emma Cross. Emma walks to the stand, dressed in service dress, hands shaking but voice steady. She swears the oath, sits, looks straight ahead, not at Steele, not at the jury, at something past all of them. Morrison starts gentle, establishing timeline, background. Then, tell us what happened on March 14th, 2025. Emma's voice is quiet but clear. I was working late, intelligence analysis. Colonel Steele came to my office, said he wanted to discuss my performance review, asked me to join him for coffee. We went to his vehicle, a truck in the parking lot. Once inside, he locked the doors, started touching me. I told him to stop. He didn't. The details come slowly, painfully. Morrison doesn't rush her, lets her tell it at her own pace. The courtroom is silent except for Emma's voice and the sound of people in the gallery crying quietly. When Emma finishes, Slate stands for cross-examination. Lieutenant Cross, I'm sorry for what you experienced. Truly, but I need to ask. Did you ever file a formal complaint? Yes, 6 weeks after the incident. And why the delay? Emma looks at him. Really looks at him. Because I was terrified. He's a colonel. I'm a lieutenant. He has friends everywhere. I have had nothing. Slate nods, sympathetic. Of course, and I understand that fear. But isn't it true that during those 6 weeks, you and Colonel Steele exchanged numerous text messages? Emma's face goes pale, yes. Messages that an outside observer might interpret as friendly, even flirtatious. They weren't. I was trying to. She stops, swallows. I was trying to act normal, so he wouldn't know I was planning to report him. Or, Slate's voice is gentle, deadly. You were engaged in a consensual relationship that you later regretted. No, Morrison objects. The judge sustains. But the damage is done. The jury has heard it. Consensual relationship. Regret, the language that turns victims into liars. Emma is dismissed. She walks past Steele. He doesn't look at her, doesn't acknowledge her existence, like she's already been erased. 6 more victims testify. The pattern is the same. Slate dismantles each one with surgical precision, pointing out delays in reporting, questioning motives, suggesting alternative explanations. Never directly calling them liars, just planting enough doubt to make conviction uncertain. By the end of day 1, Sarah sees it in Morrison's face. They're losing. That night, federal safe house. Sarah gathers the witnesses. They're demoralized, broken, watching themselves get torn apart on the stand. He's winning, Emma says, voice hollow, just like they always do. Sarah sits across from them, thinks about what to say, how to give them hope when the system keeps proving hope is a luxury they can't afford. Tomorrow, I testify. Sarah's voice is calm, and I'm going to tell them something Slate doesn't know, something that changes everything. What? Jacob asks. He's been silent all day, watching his father perform innocence, watching the defense make victims into suspects. The truth. Sarah stands, not just about Steele, about the whole system, about Hale, about the network, about how deep this goes. Slate thinks this trial is about one man's actions. Tomorrow, we show him it's about 40 years of institutional rot. She looks at each of them. You've done your part. You stood up, spoke truth, survived cross-examination. Now it's my turn to make sure that mattered. Sarah opens the envelope Shaw gave her, reads the name inside. Her eyes widen. She looks up at the group. And we have one more witness, someone who's been inside the network for 2 years, collecting evidence, taking names, waiting for the right moment. She shows them the name. Jacob's breath catches. Emma's hand goes to her mouth. Tomorrow, Sarah says quietly. The brotherhood breaks from within. Day 2. Sarah Kane takes the stand. The courtroom is even more packed than yesterday. Word is spread. This is the investigator, the one who built the case, the one with her own controversial history. Slate is practically salivating. Morrison starts with her credentials. Delta Force, DIA, the Kandahar incident, getting it all on record before Slate can weaponize it. Then, why did you take this case? Sarah looks at the jury. Because Director Shaw asked me to solve a problem the system wouldn't touch. A seal with 41 accusers and 0 consequences. And what did you discover? That Steele is a symptom. Sarah's voice is steady. The disease is systematic protection of predators by people who value reputation over justice. Objection. Slate is on his feet. Speculation. Sustained. The judge looks at Sarah. Stick to facts. Sarah nods. Facts. Colonel Steele kept detailed records of his assaults. Hunting logs, with dates, names, specific details. I found them on a laptop in his storage unit. The courtroom erupts. The judge gavels for order. Slate is furious, Your Honor. This alleged laptop was obtained without a warrant. Fruit of the poisonous tree. Morrison counters. The laptop was provided voluntarily by Jacob Steele, Colonel Steele's son, who had legal access to his father's storage unit. All eyes turn to Jacob in the gallery. His face is stone. But Sarah sees the cost. Testifying against your father is one thing. Providing the evidence that destroys him is something else entirely. The judge rules. Evidence is admissible. Continue. Morrison shows the jury excerpts from the logs, reads them aloud. The clinical language, the proud documentation, the proof that this wasn't misunderstanding or regret. This was systematic hunting. By the time Morrison finishes, several jury members are visibly shaken. Your witness, Morrison sits. Slate approaches, and Sarah prepares for war. Agent Kane, you shot a fellow soldier in Kandahar, correct? Yes. Because you believed he was committing a crime. I didn't believe. I knew. I watched him drag a female interpreter into a room, heard her screaming, made a tactical decision. A decision that ended your Delta career. A decision that saved a woman's life. Sarah's voice is ice. And yes, cost me my career because the system decided a dead rapist was more valuable than a living victim. The courtroom goes silent. Slate recovers. That must have made you bitter, angry at the military, looking for revenge. Not revenge. Sarah looks directly at the jury. Justice. There's a difference. Revenge is personal. Justice is systematic. I want every predator in uniform held accountable, starting with Colonel Steele and ending with, Slate pauses, lets the question hang. Who exactly? Sarah smiles. Thin, dangerous. Anyone who protected him, including the 4-star general who runs Greystone Solutions, the PMC that employs compromise operators for illegal contracts, the network that uses sexual assault as recruitment leverage. Objection! Slate's voice cracks slightly. Relevance. It's relevant. Sarah doesn't wait for the judge, because this trial isn't just about Steele. It's about exposing a systematic conspiracy to cover up crimes, recruit criminals, and use them for operations that violate domestic and international law. The judge intervenes, Agent Kane, unless you have evidence connecting this trial to broader conspiracy. I'll ask you to focus on the charges against Colonel Steele. Sarah reaches into her jacket, pulls out a USB drive. I have 1,200 pages of evidence, financial records, communications, testimony from 3 Greystone contractors who agreed to cooperate in exchange for immunity. All of it connecting Steele's crimes to a network run by General Marcus Hale. She hands the drive to Morrison, who looks stunned. This wasn't in the prosecution brief, because it wasn't prosecution evidence. Sarah says calmly, it's Inspector General evidence for a separate investigation. But since Colonel Slate brought up the question of who this ends with, I thought I'd answer. The courtroom explodes again, reporters typing frantically, the gallery in chaos, Slate demanding a mistrial, Morrison trying to regain control. The judge gavels, hard, repeated order, order in this court. When silence finally returns, the judge looks at Sarah, then at the USB drive, then at Slate. This court will take a 2-hour recess. I want both counsel in my chambers. Now. The recess stretches to 4 hours. When court reconvenes, the judge looks like a man who just got briefed on something that cost him sleep for the next decade. This court-martial will continue. But I'm also ordering the Inspector General to launch a full investigation into the allegations regarding Greystone Solutions and associated personnel. The judge looks directly at someone in the gallery. General Hale, former JSOC commander, now CEO of Greystone, sitting in the back row, face impassive. Any evidence pertaining to broader conspiracy will be sealed for the IG investigation. This trial remains focused on Colonel Steele's charges. Slate looks like he wants to object, doesn't, can't. The trap just closed around more than just his client. Proceed with next witness. Morrison stands. The prosecution calls Master Chief Wade Torres, United States Navy, retired. The courtroom goes silent. Steele's head snaps up, face draining of color, because Torres is his swim buddy, his brother, the man who stood beside him for 15 years. And Torres is walking to the stand, in civilian clothes, face unreadable, every eye in the room following him. He's sworn in, sits, doesn't look at Steele, just stares straight ahead. Morrison approaches carefully. Master Chief Torres, how long did you serve with Colonel Steele? 15 years. Team 6, Mosul, Kandahar, Somalia. Torres's voice is flat. Every major operation from 2010 to 2025. And during that time, did you observe Colonel Steele engage in any inappropriate behavior? Torres is quiet for a long moment, then, yes. The courtroom erupts. Steele is on his feet, shouting, "You bastard! You lying bastard!" The judge gavels. Remove the defendant. Military police restrain Steele. Drag him back to his seat. He's shaking with rage, betrayed by the one person he thought would never turn. Morrison continues, what did you observe? Torres takes a breath. I saw him target junior personnel, primarily women, sometimes men, always people with less rank, less power. He'd isolate them, groom them, then assault them when they were vulnerable. How many times? I stopped counting after 20. Torres' voice cracks, just slightly, but I documented everyone I could confirm. Dates, locations, witnesses who might corroborate. Why didn't you report this earlier? Because I was a coward. Torres finally looks at the jury. I told myself it wasn't my place, that the brotherhood came first, that we protect our own. It took me 2 years to realize. We were protecting a predator, and every day I stayed silent. Someone else got hurt. Morrison pulls out a thick file. Master Chief, is this the documentation you compiled? Yes, sir. 2 years of evidence, names, dates, corroborating witnesses, everything I could gather without blowing my cover. Cover? 2 years ago, I contacted the Inspector General, told them what I knew. They asked me to stay in place, keep collecting evidence, help build a case that couldn't be buried. Torres looks directly at Steele. So I did. I watched my swim buddy, my brother, destroy people, and I took notes, because someone had to. The weight of it settles over the courtroom. A brotherhood built on loyalty, broken by conscience. Slate cross-examines, tries to paint Torres as disgruntled, jealous, motivated by career advancement. But Torres doesn't flinch, just answers calmly, factually, like giving a mission debrief. When Torres is dismissed, he walks past Steele, stops, looks down at him. You taught me that honor means something, that the trident stands for more than just skill. It stands for character. His voice is quiet. You lied about all of it. Steele lunges. Military police restrain him. Torres walks away, out of the courtroom, into a future where he's no longer bound by a brotherhood that valued silence over justice. The trial continues. Jacob Steele testifies, describes finding the laptop, the hunting logs, his father's systematic documentation. His voice never wavers, but his hands grip the armrest, knuckles white. Slate tries to paint him as a rebellious son, someone seeking attention or revenge. Jacob doesn't take the bait, just answers calmly, like giving a situation report to command. When it's over, Jacob steps down, walks past his father, and for just a moment, Steele's mask slips completely, not rage this time, something worse. Recognition that he's lost. Not just the trial, his son, his legacy, everything. Jacob keeps walking, doesn't look back. Closing arguments. Morrison goes first, summarizes the evidence, the testimony, the pattern, the hunting logs. Torres' 2 years of documentation. He's effective, professional, and this time, there's emotional weight behind it. Slate delivers his closing. It's good, masterful even. He questions motives, points to reasonable doubt, reminds the jury that destroying a decorated officer requires certainty, not just allegations. But his voice lacks conviction now, because Torres broke something fundamental, the defense of brotherhood, of SEALs protecting their own. Torres proved that real brotherhood means protecting the innocent, not the guilty. The judge instructs the jury. They file out to deliberate. 2 hours. That's how long they deliberate. Short for a case this complex, which means they didn't need time to decide, just time to ensure they'd considered everything properly. The jury returns. The foreman stands. A Marine Master Sergeant, 24 years service, combat action ribbon, the kind of NCO who's seen everything. The judge asks, has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of sexual assault, 41 counts. How do you find? Guilty, all counts. The courtroom erupts. Steele's face goes white, then red, then something beyond color. Pure rage barely controlled. On the charge of obstruction of justice, 7 counts. Guilty, all counts. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, 3 counts. Guilty, all counts. The judge gavels for order, takes 10 minutes to restore it. Then, Colonel Garrett Steele, this court finds you guilty on all charges. You are hereby sentenced to 45 years confinement at the United States Disciplinary Barracks, Fort Leavenworth, dishonorably discharged from the United States Navy, all rank, decorations, and privileges revoked, effective immediately. Steele stands, hands shaking, not with fear, with fury. This is a travesty. His voice is loud, breaking. I served this country for 27 years, bled for it, killed for it, and you're going to believe lying whores and a vindictive woman with an axe to grind? The judge's gavel comes down like thunder. Remove the prisoner. Military police move in. Steele fights them. Actually fights. Swinging, screaming. The mask completely gone. The monster fully visible. You think this ends here? Steele shouts as they drag him toward the door. Hale will bury all of you. Every single one. And that's the mistake, the final one. Because Colonel Marcus Slate, sitting at the defense table, realizes what his client just did, publicly connected Hale to the case, created a statement on the record, admissible in the IG investigation. Slate tries to recover, stands. Your Honor, my client is clearly distressed. Those statements should be stricken as too late. The judge cuts him off. The record will reflect Colonel Steele's outburst and Colonel Slate. This court has some questions about how you accessed certain classified files during your defense preparation. Files that only General Hale's office had clearance to view. Slate's face drains, Your Honor. Those files were provided through proper channels. Through Greystone Solutions. The judge's voice is flat. A private military contractor, providing classified DIA documents to a defense attorney, which either means you broke federal law accessing them, or someone with high clearance gave them to you illegally. Either way, Colonel Slate, you're under investigation, badge and credentials, now. The courtroom watches as Slate, face ashen, hands over his identification, watches as military police escort him out. Not under arrest yet, but the walls closing in. Sarah realizes the real trial just started. Steele was the symptom. Torres proved the brotherhood can break. Slate is the bridge, and Hale is the disease. The infection is being exposed to light. Finally, 6 months later, Sarah Kane sits in her new office at DIA headquarters. Title on the door reads, Sexual Assault Special Investigations Task Force Director. Emma Cross is her deputy, promoted to captain. Still healing, but healing in a place where her voice matters. Jacob Steele changed his name legally. Enrolled in law school, Georgetown, wants to be a JAG officer. Fixed the system that failed so many. Last Sarah heard, he's top of his class. And he's dating someone, a civilian, someone who never knew his father, someone who sees him for who he is, not who he came from. Master Chief Wade Torres, the man who broke the code of silence, testified, brought down his swim buddy. He didn't retire quietly, he went loud, wrote a book, The Weight of Silence, How I Betrayed My Brother to Save My Soul. It's a bestseller. He tours military bases, talks to young operators about honor, about what loyalty really means, about how protecting predators isn't brotherhood, it's complicity. Sarah met him once, 3 months after the trial, at a coffee shop in D.C. They didn't talk about Steele, didn't talk about the trial, just sat in comfortable silence. Two warriors who made hard choices, lived with the consequences, and refused to regret doing the right thing. Before they parted, Torres said one thing. I spent 15 years swimming in deep water, watching currents pull good people under, and I did nothing. His eyes were clear, steady. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no one drowns in silence again. Sarah shook his hand. That's all any of us can do. General Marcus Hale, forced retirement. Greystone Solutions under federal investigation. 43 members of his network facing courts-martial. 3 turned state's evidence. The dominoes falling slowly but inevitably. Hale himself? No criminal charges. Yet. But his empire is crumbling. His protection network exposed. His power evaporating. Men like Hale don't go to prison, but they can be stripped of everything that made them dangerous. And sometimes that's justice enough. Colonel Marcus Slate, guilty of perjury, evidence tampering, unlawful disclosure of classified information. 15 years. Federal prison, not military. The kind of prison where former officers don't get special treatment, where a law degree and a prestigious career mean nothing, where you're just another inmate counting days. Sarah thinks about him sometimes, wonders if he remembers a locked room at Fort Bragg, a woman who fought back, a career destroyed because the system values comfort over justice. She hopes he does, hopes every day of his sentence is a reminder. Sarah's phone rings. Director Shaw. I have something for you. His voice is careful. New case, Ramstein Air Base, Germany, pattern similar to Steele's. 12 victims, all connected to one senior officer. Sarah opens the file he emails, reads the preliminary report, sees the pattern, the protection network, the systematic cover-up. Then she sees the name, 4-star general, theater commander, United States European Command. This isn't just another predator. This is someone with the power to start wars, command armies, shape foreign policy, and he's been hunting for at least a decade. Sarah looks at the file, at the 12 victims who found the courage to come forward, at the system that will try to bury this just like it buried everything else. She thinks about Emma Cross, about Jacob Steele, about Wade Torres, about 41 victims who didn't live to see justice, about the ones who did and had to fight for every inch of it, about a master chief who spent 2 years collecting evidence, who chose conscience over brotherhood, who proved that silence can be broken. Then she makes a call. When Shaw answers, she gives him 3 words. I'm going in. Because Sarah Kane is a hunter, and the hunt never ends. Predators keep hunting until someone hunts them back. The math is simple. The execution is hard. But some fights are worth fighting, even when the enemy has rank, power, protection. Especially then, she closes the file, looks at the photo on her desk, taken the day of Steele's sentencing. 12 survivors standing together. Not victims anymore. Warriors. And in the back, Wade Torres, standing with them. Proof that allies can come from the strangest places, that redemption is real. That brotherhood means protecting the innocent, not the guilty. Sarah Kane picks up her rifle case, starts packing for Germany. The silent protocol continues, because some silences need to be broken. Some protocols need to be rewritten. And some people need to learn that wearing a uniform doesn't make you untouchable. It just makes you a more visible target. And somewhere, a good sniper is always watching, calculating, waiting, ready to pull the trigger when the math says justice requires it.